Welcome to the podcast, My Favorite CPA. And today we have a special guest. Today we are talking about our series, The Business of. Today it is the business of online sales. And I'm welcoming my guest of Toyland Bay, Steve Lewiski.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you, Dan. It is fun to be here and be here with my favorite CPA.
We've known each other a long time.
Yeah, about 15 years when we first started with you.
Yep. So for some of my listeners who may be around the country, could we just break the ice here? Tell my friends, where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your background, your family, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, born and raised here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and went to college at, well, it was IPFW, now Purdue Fort Wayne. Studied restaurant management and supervision, which then led me into a career of 40 years in the food service industry. 30 were in distribution to restaurants, hotels, healthcare, those type of facilities.
Wow.
Yeah. At the same time, raising 4 kids, all stayed here in the area, and all within 4 miles of where I live. So it's fun to see them every week, see grandkids almost every day. So
That's a good life, if you ask me.
yeah.
You've lived a really rewarding career up to this point, and
Yeah, and reached a point where coming out of the food service industry being so fast paced, couldn't retire and do nothing. And decided to turn a hobby of mine into a business, as we still had some expenses like healthcare that we needed to fund. And that's kind of where it all started.
wow. And so now your business is, I see you brought some products with you today. Can you tell us a little bit about what you sell online?
Yeah, the majority of the items are licensed. Some are sports licensed, and some are TV movie licensed. One has been extremely popular, the Yellowstone series. We do a line of those that are limited edition. And we're real excited because we're going to do an exclusive to our own that'll be available probably in February. And if you know the series, we're doing Casey Dutton's pickup truck. And it'll be a dirty version because it was never clean in the show. So that's pretty exciting. On the sports side, we do a lot of IndyCar, probably outside of the gift shops at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, probably the largest retailer of IndyCar. We're excited. Brought a couple pictures. We actually
So we can get these on camera.
this year, because our accountant said we really didn't have many opportunities in advertising, we sponsored these 2 cars in the Indy 500. And in January, we'll have one of them that, there's the pre-production photos, that'll have our logo on it. As it was the race day livery, and our logo is up by the gas cap. So we're real excited about that. And this is real limited production. There's probably only a couple hundred of them will be available. So we're excited about that. It's kind of led us down a couple different paths doing that. But basically, toys and hobbies, and like I say, it's basically adult collectibles. They're
Grown-up toys.
right. If you gave them to a child, you'd be calling me and saying, "Oh, my race car's all busted up," because it wouldn't last with a 3-year-old opened that up and played with it. So we do things. The demographics mostly 18 to 65-year-olds buy our products.
So it's reminiscing of, I remember when
Yeah, and the industry itself is very cyclical. If you look at toys that come out or reintroduced, it's about every 20, 25 years when people get in a position where they're earning some money and they want to recreate their childhood, and then they want to buy the toys they had when they were a child that got thrown away in the process. So if you look at today's, a lot of the toys that are reintroduced are ones that 20, 25 years ago kids were playing with.
So what are some of the favorites that come to mind?
Favorites.
Do you have a favorite toy?
Well, mine are die-cast vehicles. When I was a kid, I had Matchbox cars.
Right.
And Fortunately, that collection survived. My mom never threw those out. So I still have those in a case every day when I go to work. I see them in a display case. So those were always my favorite. And I think that's kind of what led me to continue into transportation collectibles when we started this business.
I had both Matchbox and Hot Wheels.
Hot Wheels, the early Hot Wheels, we were, it was kind of sacrilegious to Matchbox collectors, and we destroyed a lot of them. They had accidents, and looking back, I wish I still had them, but I probably have a couple dozen of the original Hot Wheels from when I was a kid, too, that I've saved. Yeah.
Did you have all the loop-de-loops and the track and the
Yep. In fact, this summer,
launchers? And
I call my testers or my grandkids. We set up a track outside with a loop-de-loop, and they were sending the cars down. So yeah,
that's cool. I wish I had some B-roll footage of that. So how long have you had your online sales business?
We started on eBay in 1998, so this is our 25th year on eBay.
Right? Wow.
It's hard to believe. It was a hobby for the first 10 years. And then when it started to grow, we decided, well, this is really a business. It's not a hobby. That's when we first met our favorite CPA, Dan, and helped us set up he helped us set up the initial
corporate
sole proprietorship when we started. And then 2018 helped us set up the S Corp and incorporate it. So again, that advice, I think we couldn't have got to where we're at without the advice like that along the way. So it's been 25 years of doing that. Really the past 15 have been the real business years.
So I'm sure that there's been some progression in growth over the years.
Yeah, it's been, I like to say, slow, steady growth, controlled growth. So we're a mom and pop operation. We, in one way or another, handle every order. We see almost every order that comes through. And until COVID hit, we found that a lot of the brick and mortar businesses that sell the type of items we sell never reopened. And from that point on, there's just really no looking back. The business exploded during COVID and has continued to grow.
It's a real game changer.
Yeah, and that's something we never planned for, and just happened to be a positive.
Now, when you take a business where you could sell maybe in a retail presence, or I'm sure there's other ways you could sell, like before the internet. When you take that out to the internet, I'm sure your margins change, they shift a little, but I'm sure maybe your sales volume changes too. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, especially with Amazon, there's a lot of competition. We sell a lot of items that are limited production, so it keeps us a little bit out of that they're not going to be an unlimited supply.
It's not like a piece of plastic that someone can clone and create their copy of and mass produce it.
Yeah, and being mostly licensed vehicles, it's really hard for somebody to make knockoffs because
there's a lot
entertainment industry is so strict in licensing that it would be really hard to create some of those products. Yeah, and so I think the margins certainly slimmer on Amazon and on eBay, but you don't have the expenses of a brick and mortar. And one thing I found very appealing was I didn't want to turn a key every day. I didn't want to go open up a shop.
What if there's a day where you want to go to your grandkids, preschool event? Or?
And it really works that way. We don't travel a lot, but when we take a week off, the business still runs and still sells and still ships. And I always kid that I wanted a business that I could operate from the beach if I ever wanted to. And
you really could with today's. You just you take your phone out and update your status, make some calls.
Yeah, there's a lot of the work on both Amazon and eBay. Both can be done on the phone on their seller apps.
Could you have ever imagined this years ago?
Oh no, there's no way.
It's like Dick Tracy.
Yeah, initially before eBay, I thought. That's when I thought really a brick and mortar store is what I'd want to do when I retire. And now looking back, I would never want to do that.
If you were in a brick and mortar store, in your mind, you think you could just sit there and enjoy a cup of coffee and talk to your friends and that kind of stuff. But you'd be chained to the desk and you'd be checking an inventory and doing purchasing and
And you would,
marketing things.
and you'd still be shipping orders that Amazon ships for us today. If I were in the brick and mortar, I'd be shipping those, packing and shipping them myself.
A lot of convenience in today's world, right?
Yep.
Yep. So what's your outlook of where things are going in the industry?
Probably the biggest trend in the industry is safety. And Amazon's created a lot of that as child safety and differentiating between adult collectibles and toys.
Right.
Because we do sell some toy items for 3-year-olds and up. And there's a lot that goes into that, testing of the product, testing of the paint. There's an awful lot behind the scenes that has to be done before you can make those available to the public.
Right, because if there's lead-based paint or there's a part that could slip off, a kid could choke on it.
Exactly.
And then you have product liability issues. And is it your liability or is it Amazon or eBay's liability? Is it the manufacturer's liability?
And today, Amazon requires us to carry liability insurance.
No kidding.
So if one of our products did not meet the standards, something happened, we would have insurance that would cover it.
It's an extra cost that a lot of people probably don't think about.
Yeah. Yep.
So I take it you enjoy this business.
I really do, and I think coming up from a hobby, somebody, I don't know whose quote it is, it was, do what you love what you do. And I think that's really, if you're going to get into something like this, it's got to be something you really have a passion for. And, growing up, my father had a Napa store, so we were always around cars and car business. And then later became, we were big followers of the local stock car racing. So I'd always had that passion for automobiles, racing, so it all kind of came together. And I think if you were going to start a business like this, it would definitely be something you have a passion for. I've had friends that are, close to retiring. They say, well, teach me how you do this. Would like to, do this when I retire. I said, you have to start
Something
now and
that
find
really
out
lights
what
you up.
that you love to do. That you love to get up every morning and, I love looking at, the cars that are in my house or, in my office. So, yeah, I think passion's the biggest part of it.
Nice. Do any of your kids or grandkids, are they as interested in?
My kids have no interest whatsoever at this point, and I don't think they even understand. I think sometimes they think, oh, Dad's just playing with toys, and it's grown into what I always called a hobby, or was a hobby, and then now I call it a small business. And this industry, there's not a lot of benchmarking, so it's really hard to tell. Is this a small business? Where are we at? And that's why I depend on my accountant to, every year to look at what we're doing to see where our business standing is. But my kids don't. My grandkids sometimes will help me label items going to Amazon. They'll come and take a sheet of a couple hundred labels and they'll do the barcode labeling.
Work that's got to be done.
Yeah.
Why not involve the family?
Yeah, and I hope someday, when they get to the age that one of them want to help out, and who knows, we don't have a real succession plan. I could keep doing this for quite a few years, but I don't know where it'll end up. Hopefully in the hands of somebody, or we sell it, or sell it to my accountant or somebody.
we never know, our future. We could live for another 20 or 30 years or not. And just like some of the, like COVID and, life stuff happens. But I think that's I think that's some really solid advice to do what you love. If you do what you love.
Yeah, because if you're not having fun every day getting up, this would just be miserable.
It'd be almost as bad being chained to your desk. So is there thinking back, if you could go back in a time machine and give some advice to your past self, is there anything that you would?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest issue or headache we had in this was when states started requiring collection of sales tax. Because at that point we were selling, 50 states were selling out of the country. And other countries now are figuring out they need to get in on the tax action.
They got their hands out too.
Also, that was probably the biggest shock is when that started and really caused us some concern of dealing with a couple individual states. State of Indiana was wonderful when we started. We were able to track that, and being online, not a huge percent of our sales were in state anyways, but it was quite easy. But when all the other states joined
East Coast and West Coast, we're not going to name any states, but
yeah,
some of them can be very aggressive.
Exactly.
In texts.
Yeah, and that's where, looking back, we early on, again, got with Dan here to set our business up and always looked to him for advice. That's probably one of the biggest things I would share to keep yourself out of trouble, is to ask those questions of your CPA before you get into a situation where you're dealing with a state on the West Coast or whatever and trying to sort through it. So that was probably one of the biggest surprises when that happened, and it happened quickly. And then eventually the states forced Amazon and eBay to start collecting and reporting the sales tax. So that was just a huge relief when that happened.
It's a better way. So then and I'm sure they charge for it too, Amazon and the facilitators.
Yeah, it's included. So it's a cost of doing business. It is factored in there somewhere.
But paying something for that versus having to deal with 50 states.
So, and that's what saved us. We have a very elementary website that redirects you to our categories on eBay or Amazon. And
what is your website, by the way?
It's Toyland Bay.
Okay, toylandbay.com. Okay.
And we did that, again, just because if we sold directly off our website, we would be dealing with the sales tax, and that's just something I don't want to do.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great. Anything else you'd like to add for everyone out there on the internet and people that are thinking about getting into business, or specifically maybe online sales?
Yeah, it's still work. I get up every day and work, and although again, some people in my family might think I do, but Amazon's a 24/7 business, and they have some expectations. If their items, if they're not shipping them out of their warehouse for you, they have some very time-sensitive rules that you have to react to, and they don't look at business days or holidays. They just look at days.
So they're administratively heavy, like you have a certain number of days to respond, and then if you get a track record of not responding, then you could be off their platform.
Exactly. The nice part of it is you can do a lot of this work, sitting on the couch watching a movie or whatever.
And since it's online, you could probably get help anywhere in the world, maybe to respond to requests or that kind of stuff. Some of the computer work.
Yeah. And again, I think the financial part and what you've helped me with is probably the biggest. That's just the biggest part of being able to grow
managing
small
your tax
business.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yep.
Well, great. Very good. I really appreciate you coming on with us today. And I want you to take one of these My Favorite CPA mugs with you.
I will enjoy that.
And for my listeners out there, as we wrap up, if you have any comments, drop them down below. If you would give us a like and a follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell for alerts. We do have a continuing series here, which is The Business Of. And if you yourself would like to be on our show talking about your business, we'd love to invite you. So send me a DM. Thanks again. That's it.